How to never be lonely. Do you know why you get lonely sometimes? Usually it doesn't last long because either you see a family member or you go to work, and if you do ever get lonely, it tends to get dissipated. So maybe you've never been really, really lonely in your life, which is good, who wants to be lonely? But in this video, I want to teach you how to never be lonely ever again in your life. Why do you get lonely? It's because in those moments you don't have love. You are so desperate for love that you need to be around other human beings almost all the time, except when you're sleeping, maybe. But when you're conscious and you're awake, you need to be around love. You don't look at it as love, like, oh, I'm just talking to the mailman. What does that have to do with love? It's love. It's love. It's all subconscious. You're not conscious of it in your waking state, but it's love. So if I tell you how to finally get rid of it, let's say you just want to learn how to be okay with being lonely, especially during the pandemic, if you're in a situation where you have to be lonely simply because maybe you're in a quarantine, or you're in a situation where you have no choice. But I don't want it to be I don't want it to be some kind of challenge for you. I want you to fall in love with loneliness. Because once you fall in love with loneliness, everything else, like people, things, social media, all of that will just be a cherry on top. All of that will just be extra. It's like if you win the lottery and then also somebody bakes you a chocolate cake for free. It's like kind of extra. Like you'll take the cake, but you're like, well, I can just buy a cake. I can just make a cake. I can have somebody make a cake for me. Why are you giving me a cake? That's what it feels like when you overcome loneliness. And the only way to overcome loneliness is to be really, really fucking lonely. And there's something beautiful about that. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of loneliness where you're in solitary confinement, if you're in prison and you're just going insane. You're putting your feces on the walls and you're just losing your mind. No, no, no. This is not that kind of loneliness, because those people are trying to fight their loneliness. I'm talking about voluntarily plunging yourself into the most lonely state you can be. Almost nobody does this. And if you keep watching this video and listen to what I have to say, you're going to think I'm crazy, honestly. You're going to think I'm insane. But this will be faster than meditating, because you can meditate and also learn how to be okay with sitting still with nobody around. You'll never be bored again, because if you meditate every day, you won't mind standing in line at the bank, or if you're in the drugstore or something like that. You can learn how to do that, not be bored. But I'm talking about true loneliness. Like, I'm talking about mastering loneliness to such a degree that if you were thrown into a deserted island right now, you would be able to stay there for a year, knowing you would come back, of course, but you'd be able to stay there for a year without going crazy. And I'm telling you, this is a superpower. All right, I'll get to the point. Visual stimulation also cures loneliness a little bit. Imagine if you didn't have you were lonely, but you also didn't have your eyesight. You would be even more lonely because you don't even have anything to look at. So this is how it works. I challenge you to do this. I challenge you to sit down on the couch comfortably, preferably with a blindfold. Because you can do it with your eyes closed, but sometimes it's tough to keep your eyes closed for a while. They tend to want to open. So just grab a blindfold, and I challenge you to sit down. Of course, eat and do all that other stuff, but I encourage you to sit down for 12 hours. Try this just once, just one day out of your life. It's nothing to lose. If you sit down for 12 hours with a blindfold, by yourself, you have to be by yourself, you will experience the highest levels of boredom, the highest levels of loneliness you have ever experienced in your life. And you might ask me, well, Max, well, why do I have to torture myself like this? Well, what's the point? You know, I'm just going to torture myself and then go on with my life. No, no, that's not how this works at all. You're not torturing yourself. Your body is not going to shut down. After all, you're just sitting down. You're just simply not stimulating yourself. That's all. So your body's going to do its thing. You're going to have a lot of racing thoughts, you know, and then you're going to get really uncomfortable, and then you're going to want to stop. And then all of these things are going to start coming up, and that's when you're actually purging all that garbage that's inside of you, all that neediness, that trauma, whatever you have. Because if you can't be alone for more than a day, then that's not normal. But everybody's like that, so we assume that's the normal. But when everyone's doing the same thing, feeling the same way, thinking the same way, especially if everyone's just depressed, which it seems like these days everyone is almost, then how do you know what's normal and what's not normal? You have nothing to compare it to. So once you do this, once you sit for 12 hours by yourself, eventually your body will get used to this non-stimulated state. And what will happen is your body will have to adapt. Your brain and your body will have to figure out a way to be comfortable, because if you can't fight them, if you can't fight it, you might as well join it. If you can't beat them, you join them. That's how the saying goes. So you're joining the loneliness. You're allowing it to happen. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts a lot. But sitting for 12 hours with a blindfold, doing nothing, experiencing the worst levels of boredom and the worst levels of loneliness, is the only way to get rid of loneliness for good. Don't believe me? Try it. Once you get past like the 5-hour mark, you will experience yourself in the most honest way, because you have nothing else to experience. So all you're going to be experiencing is yourself. You're going to feel your spirit. You're going to feel your soul. It's just going to be you and your soul, and you're going to get to know it better than anyone will ever know you, or you will know yourself better than you could ever know yourself in any other way. Because once you're alone in the darkness for hours and hours and hours, your soul will have to resensitize itself to itself. Because if you have nothing to think about, nothing to see, nothing to do, all you have is the feeling of I am, and this I amness is going to grow. This feeling of, oh, I'm sitting here meditating, I'm sitting here with my eyes closed, I'm lonely. This I is going to grow and grow and grow. And who knows, you might even experience nirvana. What do you think those monks are talking about? Oh, being present, meditating, reaching nirvana. I guarantee if you sit for 12 hours, you have a really good chance of reaching some sort of state of nirvana by the end. Or at least if you do this consecutively, day after day, you will get there, because your soul and your body and your mind, everything will have to work together to adapt to this new state, because this is what you're doing now. So once you take the blindfold off, once you go outside, it'll be like going outside for the first time. You'll be like, wow, I got used to this, but I also have all this. It's like you're completely you're starting from a whole new plane. You understand? You're resetting the bar. When you do this, you desensitize yourself. And now, since you're so non-stimulated, the simplest things will stimulate you. You might pick up the most boring book ever, and it'll be amazing. You might go to the most boring place, and it'll be amazing. Walking through the park will be like the best day of your life, and you won't even know why, and you won't be lonely either. And once you do see people, they will be glowing with fascination. You will be fascinated by everybody, because you were in this state of isolation for 12 hours. You're in the dark. You're basically like a vampire bat, and now you're being brought into the light, brought back into the world, and all of a sudden everything's amazing. Even just waiting in CVS, waiting at going at the library, waiting at the bank, whatever, the most basic boring day-to-day adult activities will feel amazing because you're going to be like, wow, like what is this? Like I don't remember choosing to be this person walking through this planet, walking through this life, figuring things out. Like, how did this all happen? Why am I me and not a bug? Why am I me and not some lizard or a dog? Like, they're just as valid. There's plenty of insects on the planet. Why am I not an insect? I'm this amazing machine that can experience things in so many different ways. I can experience humor. I can experience love. I can experience flavors, taste, all the senses in the most profound ways, and have evolved. Humans evolved to do this. And you're going to be in that state for the rest of the day. You're going to be in awe. Now, this is what people want deep down. They want to experience the world through a child's eyes. And a child's eyes are fresh. And the only way to freshen your eyes is to become a child and to do this sitting, to do this isolation. Because when you're in the womb, you're pretty much by yourself. There's no one really nearby. You were by yourself in the womb, dreaming or whatever the hell you were doing in there. And you went into the world and you're like, wow, I'm a child. Everything's amazing. Like I'm impressed by anything. I can look at bubbles and I'd be like, wow, holy shit, fucking bubbles. You know what I mean? So the only way to be a child again is to be reborn. So how do you give birth to yourself again? Go back in the womb. Go back in the womb where it's safe. Put on a blindfold, sit there for 12 hours. And when you take that blindfold off and you start walking around, you're going to feel like a child. Imagine if you did this every day. Now imagine you reduce it to 1 hour in the morning. Now it's your habit. Now it's your life. Now you're a child every day. Now you're happy. Now everything's interesting. And even if things aren't going your way, you're so amazed that you're alive that that's enough. And even when your life is going to shit and you have financial issues, you're amazed that you're alive. You're amazed that you're existing. So even if nothing's going right, you ask yourself, do I exist? Yes. Is it impossible? Yes. Is it a miracle because it's impossible? Yes. Wow. You can decondition yourself back to childhood by doing this. Just by sitting in silence and in the dark. Don't even move your muscles. Do nothing. Just be. Just breathe. Because you're going to get so tired of sitting. You will feel like you're losing your mind. You're going to want to rip your face off. That's how bored you're going to get. But eventually that will go away. You will kind of burn through all that tension. You will burn through it. And I'm telling you, once you go back into the world, think about how fresh it's going to be. It's like your mind will kind of forget that you are a person on a planet, So you will be kind of reintroduced to the world again. And this process of being reintroduced back into the world, this will make you feel like a child. This is what everybody wants. Why do you think so many people miss their childhood and remember the happy times they were when everything was fresh, everything was interesting? And what now nothing, the things that you used to enjoy doing now aren't that good anymore. Maybe you don't enjoy watching movies the same way, or playing video games the same way, or reading your favorite books the same way. Why? Because you're probably depressed. Well, let's face it. And you might say, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to sit with my eyes closed for 12 hours. That's crazy. Well, how bad do you want to be a kid again? How badly do you want to beat your depression? It's really not that much to ask. It's a challenge. It's a challenge that challenges your willpower, because it takes a lot of willpower to do this. And honestly, that's why nobody does it, because people try and then they're like, holy shit, this is impossible. But why don't you be the one that does it? In your whole family, in your whole community, in your whole friend group, why don't you be the one that does it first? And if you try it, let me know what you think. You won't be disappointed. You want to be a kid again. That's what you want. And I'm telling you how to do that. And I know it will work. It will work out for you if you try it. I will leave you with that.